In this lab, we continue our discussion regarding the initial moves in a game of chess, commonly known as the opening. In our lead in development session, we discussed how we should start out our game, what initial moves to consider, and why. Particularly, we talked about the golden rules of the opening, plus some guidelines to play our opening moves. In this lab video, we will discuss why we want to get a lead in development. We will have a second look at the session examples to compare the good opening moves versus alternative moves that don't follow the opening rules. Then we will look at the position in the thumbnail of this lab. Let's start by answering the skill and knowledge tests first. Welcome, chess masters. Let us start by looking at the skill test and knowledge test questions. In this position, it is white to move. What is question 1? What is attacked? Let us list all attacks for both sides. We'll start with whites and then we'll go and look at black's attacks. In this position, the white queen is attacking the knight on g8. The white queen is attacking the pawn on c6. The rook is attacking the knight on g8 and the black queen. The g5 pawn is attacking the knight on f6. Those are white's attacks. If you remember the definition of what an attack is a potential capture. So these are all the potential captures in this position for white. Now let's have a look at the attacks for black. The black king is attacking the rook. The black queen is attacking the rook and the c5 pawn. I'm sorry, the c5 pawn is not this one, it's this one. Choose. The f6 knight is attacking the white queen. And the c6 pawn is attacking the queen. These are the attacks black is making in this position. Okay, with so many attacks in the position, you may be asking which attacks I should consider or which ones I should pay attention to. Typically, you want to pay attention to the more relevant attacks first. For example, if the black queen capture of the c5 pawn was a check, or if it posed a stronger threat immediately after capturing, then the capture on c5 will be more relevant than it is now in this position. Right now it is not check when capturing on c5, but if it were a check, then you would need to pay more attention to that attack. So in this position, the capture on c5 is not really relevant for white. With experience, this determination takes you microseconds, but you or your mind somehow did notice this kind of potential capture, or should notice it, even if irrelevant. In other words, what you or your mind is really determining when identifying attacks is which captures are relevant or dangerous in the position. Let us now have a look at the skill test question 2. What is the threat? List all threats for both sides. We will list white's threats first and then black's. In this position, white is threatening queen takes on g8. We will see why in a second. Now black's threats. In this position, black is threatening knight takes queen, check. Let me bring your attention to moves that are not threats in this position. Queen h1 is not a threat because the black king can take on g7. G5 takes knight is not a threat because queen takes f6 check. The queen covers or it will be lost. Queen blocks the check. And now the king can take the rook. And black has a significant material advantage. Other move that is not threat, rook h7 is not a threat because knight takes h7. Another move that is not a threat, rook takes e7 is not a threat because of knight takes d5 check, and it simultaneously attacks the king and the rook. Next move, black takes the rook and ends up with significant material advantage. Another move that is not a threat in this position, knight h5 check, even though it is white to move. Knight h5, it is a potential move, but it is not a threat because knight takes on d5 is a threat that causes the biggest damage. So now let's have a look at this position, which is a puzzle where white is to move and wins. We will see why white is threatening taking on g8. In this position, white takes the knight on g8, check. It is forcing black to take the queen with the knight. And now white can play this amazing move, rook f7. It is not a check, it is just a move that keeps attacking the queen. If the black queen moves away somewhere else out of the second rank, then white can deliver checkmate on h7. So the black queen has to keep guard through x-ray of the h7 square. It's a key square. So after white plays rook f7, black plays knight f6, protecting the key square h7. White can play pawn takes knight, and it renews the threat of taking the queen, or if the queen moves away, checking the king and then advancing the pawns to queen. In this position, black plays queen takes c5. Now white plays rook h7, king gets out of check, f7 check, king f8, only move, rook h8 check, king g7 to keep guard of the queening square with both the king and the queen. White plays rook g8 check to chase away the black king from protecting this queening square. Now black can play king h6 and white promotes to queen check, and at the same time is check and attacking the black queen. If black takes the queen, then white takes back, and it is having a significant material advantage in this position. It is just a matter of knowing how to checkmate the black king with king and rook. Let us now have a look at the knowledge test question. Why is checkmate more important than sacrificing your queen to obtain a significant material advantage? Because checkmate ends the game, and as we saw in the session, you lose or you win. Let us now have a look at the examples and compare opening moves that follow the rules against opening moves that don't follow the golden rules. In this position, we said that bishop c4 was a good opening move. Opening moves that would not follow the golden rules would be bishop d3, because it blocks further development. Particularly, it blocks the pawn from moving to the center. And knight a3. It is developing a piece, but it is not controlling the center. We want to develop our pieces in such a way that they are in active positions or they control the central squares, particularly these 4 squares. So that is example 1. Example 2. In this position we said bishop c4 was a good opening move. It follows the golden rules. It develops a piece, plays the piece in an active square, and it attacks the weakest point in the position, in black's position, attacks f7. Opening moves that would not be good or would not follow, that do not follow the golden rules are bishop b5 check. It develops a piece with check. Why would it not be good? Because black can easily defend and gain tempo against this check by playing c6. Now this piece has to retreat. Black would gain a tempo in this kind of position. Example 3. We said in this position a good developing move was knight c6. Developing a piece and controlling a central square. Opening moves that do not follow the golden rules would be f6. It is a weak move because it blocks the ideal square for the king's knight. So this knight can no longer go to this square unless you move the pawn again and lose tempo. And it is also weak because it opens the diagonal, an important diagonal that exposes the black king to attack. Another move that would not follow the golden rules would be queen e7. In this position, queen e7 to defend the pawn is not good because it blocks the development of the black square's bishop. We could no longer move the bishop to an ideal square like c5 unless we move the queen again, losing tempo in the opening. Example 4. In this position we said a good opening move, or a move that follows the golden rules of the opening, is knight c6, attacking the queen, gaining a tempo because it threatens the white queen, has to move away. Moves that would not follow the golden rules in this position would be c5, it also attacks the queen, but it is not developing a piece. When you have the chance to develop a piece, you should take that opportunity to develop a piece, gaining tempo instead of moving a pawn. Another move that is not following the golden rules would be d6. This move, when you are not forced to block your dark square bishop, is weak, because now your bishop is behind the pawn chain and you were not forced to play this move. And it also does not develop a piece. Example 5. In this position, a good developing move is knight f3, attacking the pawn. It develops a piece and creates a threat. Moves that would not follow the golden rules would be queen f3. It does not develop a piece when you can develop a piece, but you are not developing a piece, and blocks the ideal square to develop your knight. So queen f3 is not a good developing move. Another move that would not follow the rules of the opening would be queen h5. It creates a threat. It does not develop a piece, but it is a threat that black can easily defend against by playing queen e7. Now that the black square bishop is out, queen e7 is a good move. In fact, it defends the mate threat, and it defends the threat against the e5 pawn. And next, black will play knight to f6, gaining a tempo on the queen. So the queen will have to retreat somewhere. For example, if white plays d3, now black can play knight f6, and the queen has to move again. Notice how in this position black has already developed 3 pieces, and it is ready to bring his king to safety by castling, whereas black is only having 1 piece developed and still has to move the knight to be able to bring the king to safety. So in this position, black is having a lead in development. Example 6. In this position, we said that a good development move was to defend against the threat on f7 by castling. Moves in this position that would not follow the golden rules would be queen e7. It guards the pawn, but it isn't really protecting against the threat. White can still take the pawn, and you will not trade your queen for a bishop. So this is not a good development move. Another move that would not be a good development move in this position would be rook f8. When you have the opportunity to castle and bring your king to safety and you are not doing it, rook f8 is a weak move in this position. So those are the examples where you can compare what moves are good, what moves follow the golden rules, and what moves are not good or do not follow the golden rules of the opening. Let me go back to example 2 real quick. I did miss mentioning a move that does not follow the golden rules of the opening. In this position, we said that bishop c4 was a good developing move, and that bishop b5 was not, because black can play c6, gaining a tempo on the bishop. White has to move the same piece again. Now, there is a developing move that appears to be good, but it isn't. What if white plays bishop e2, develops a piece, and prepares to bring the king to safety by castling? However, this is not a good developing move because it does not place the bishop on the more active square where it attacks weakest point in the position. It is not placing the bishop on c4, which would be preferable or a lot better than bishop e2. So that's another example of a move that does not follow the golden rules, bishop e2. So what does it mean having a lead in development? Or why do we want to have a lead in development? Well, we don't follow the opening rules and guidelines just for the sake of following them. We said that the side that achieves a lead in development will have the opportunity to start an attack against the enemy position and be successful because it outnumbers the opponent's forces where the action is taking place. And because we outnumber the opponent's forces, the opponent will have difficulty to defend against our attack. It is that simple, really. Let us now have a look at the thumbnail position. What do you notice in this position? This is a Paul Morphy puzzle or Paul Morphy problem, one of the most famous chess problems in history. It was created by the legendary Paul Morphy when he was only 12 years old. Morphy's puzzle was published in 1856 in the New York Clipper, one of the first newspapers in the United States dedicated to theater, circus, and other forms of entertainment. The problem was published along with one of Morphy's victories against Hungarian master Johann Lowenthal. Let's have a look. Did you notice Black's king has no moves? Noticing this kind of aspect is always important because every time the mobility of the king is so limited, means that somehow, some way, any potential check that cannot be addressed results in checkmate. Did you notice Black's bishop is tied to guarding the a7 pawn? So obviously rook takes a7 is not mate. Did you notice that if White could force the bishop to move away, checkmate is inevitable? Did you notice the a7 pawn is pinned by White's rook? It means it cannot capture on b6. Did you notice Black is threatening pawn a6 and delay mate? So White has to find a way to stop a6. Did you notice that if White takes the pawn on a7 with its own pawn, it does not help White at all? In other words, after noticing all these conditions, you realize Black is almost paralyzed in this position because it cannot move the king, it cannot move the bishop, and it cannot take on b6. The only possible move is a6. So what happens if White gives it an extra push and finds a way to block the pawn a6 move? Is it possible? It is. If White plays rook a6, now Black's only possible move is taking the rook. And that allows White deliver checkmate with the pawn move b7 mate. That was made in two moves. Notice how a waiting move like rook a1, hoping that Black will move its bishop away of the guard of a7, does not help White because Black can play a6, and that way it will delay checkmate by several more moves. If you found the move rook a6, congrats. If not, don't be discouraged. It just means we need looking at more examples and exercises and studying more of these mate patterns. I hope you liked this Morphy puzzle. So, to summarize, at our level, whenever we face same level opponents, we play our opening moves following these golden rules and guidelines as close as possible. And what about whenever we face stronger opponents? Should we still follow these opening rules and guidelines? Of course, you must. These rules don't change depending on the level of our opponent. What changes when playing against stronger opponents is their deeper level of understanding and specific details about what move to make at what moment, so that they increase the chance of getting an advantage or decrease the chance of falling into disadvantage. But stronger players definitely follow the same opening rules. As you become stronger with practice, you will also understand those details of certain opening moves. We have now come to the end of this lab. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Share it with chess friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. If you are in the US, visit my Herbalife distributor website to order your favorite Formula 1 nutritional shake mix or herbal tea for a healthier lifestyle. Good luck on your next games and never stop learning. Take care.